the vibe I got from Kearney during the Karen Reed case in regards to Turtleboy was she was just dismissive of him and the subject of him, not so much like trying to, she didn't seem on the bandwagon of everyone else that's trying to like shut him up and lock him up. You know what I mean? She seemed just kind of like, we're not even going to mention him because she didn't like the fact that he gets as much publicity as he does. And that's the interesting thing too, I can't wait to find out what's in. I mean, I had no idea that Proctor had texts that were discoverable for Turtleboy's case. I had no idea he had any connection to Turtleboy's case at all. So now my interest is piqued beyond any other point that I've been following this case. And I've been following Turtleboy's case since the beginning.
And we know Proctor's texting. So one can only imagine how inappropriate, how vulgar that it might be. And they looked at those at sidebar. For those who have just heard it, what happened was there was a specific request for those saying, Michael Proctor's a has-been and never was a loser. He's a non-factor. Why are we protecting these texts? And everybody had them. They just are impounded. And so the court allowed them to come to sidebar. That was the first of the sidebars and actually go over. I think there were 4 is what I heard, 4 texts from Proctor to Proctor involving Aiden Kearney. The hope was that at that sidebar, the court would be convinced, okay, we're going to take the impound off of those. That didn't happen. The judge is letting everything simmer for a couple of weeks. And of course I asked about those on the courthouse steps. Nobody was going to cough up exactly what they are or what they mean. But those, among all the other stuff impounded, that stuff's got to be kicked loose soonest. Because who is being protected by the impoundment? A former disgraced trooper? That's right.
Ridiculous. And I don't see. I see Kearney impounding those things and keeping the impoundment, but I don't see Doolin.
Yeah,
Doolin. I don't see him doing that.
Yeah. No, I don't either.
So I mean, I'm dying to know what's on those texts. I'm dying to know.
Just count on inappropriate and poorly worded.
I can guarantee you that if Proctor hates Karen Reed and hates David Yannetti, he hates Turtleboy. Guaranteed. Like despises Turtleboy. So I'm dying to know what Proctor's saying about Turtleboy.
Well, when we get those, can we have Will on to read those?
Will may want to read. They said something to the effect that, Michael, you were in the courtroom. Again, you could kind of like pick up the whispers, I guess. They said something to the effect that there's text also with another person who was also on a media tour defending her family, and there's no reason the text between the two of them shouldn't be released. So we kind of gathered who the texts are between, right?
I'm assuming it's Jen McCabe. I'm assuming, it's a McAlbert connection. We know that, but
or Elizabeth Proctor.
Could
possibly.
Be. Yeah, it could be. Although that'd be interesting.
But Jen McCabe is definitely more. I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
I'd say Jen McCabe is the best guess.
So back to my question on the courthouse steps: who's everybody protecting now? Why would they be protecting the McAlberts? Why?
I mean, that's
kind of a rhetorical question.
That's the best question.
Yeah.
I mean, and how amazing would it be if Turtleboy's trial turns out to be instrumental in getting justice for John O'Keefe?
That's a great point. If they keep pressing and this keeps moving forward behind me, that could be exactly what happens.
Thank you.
The irony in that is beautiful.
Wouldn't that would be just poetic pain in the ass justice? Yeah.
Do you think? And here's a question I threw out today. Do you think that if those texts are like protecting, to protect the people in power, right? And Cosgrove knows about power, right? That's, he's supposed to be a special prosecutor. He's supposed to have the power, not go back to somebody and ask what he should do. Please pass the pepper. Thank you, as always, Lyndon Michael. But do you think they would dismiss Turtleboy's case rather than release that stuff?
Wow.
I'll take either. Because the thing is, like, the guy in me that really wants to see a trial, like we all want that drama of a trial for sure, but at the same time, like I've become friends with Aiden and I don't like to see him going through what he's going through.
Right.
So I'm hoping ultimately that they just dismiss his case. But I am also, if it goes to trial, I am very much looking forward to Bradel and Betterow exposing some real corruption. I'm really looking forward to that.
And I think
I'm really looking forward to seeing Kate Peter sitting on the stand. I'm really looking forward to seeing Ken Mello sitting on the stand.
Yeah, that case could be what Karen Reed 1 was in terms of those characters, those presentations, those embarrassing people. It could be. We missed it in trial 2 because nobody wanted to bring those people on. It could blossom in an Aiden trial.
Yeah. By the way, Josh H. says something that I actually feel he's absolutely right. I'm just going to say Turtleboy has a better 1983 claim than Karen. Turtleboy's claim is, I think, absolutely. I think if he wins this case.
And that's a federal statute, right?
The federal statute, civil rights, that's a area I practice. I've won a number of cases going 12-0 in federal courts doing that civil case. They're very hard. But boy, when you get to the actual misconduct, you get to someplace that people that know they're guilty of misconduct and they're doing it for an improper purpose, then the courts lift that qualified immunity. And I don't think anyone's going to try to protect Proctor. So my next question is to Will. I want this. I'm going to say a name. Okay. I'm going to say, actually, I'll say a couple of names. Yuri Buchanan. Reaction.
Oh, dirty, cocky, arrogant, dirty and arrogant.
And now he's in Southie. Now
and rehomed.
And rehomed.
Yeah.
I heard that first it was to the South Bronx, South Boston, or whatever. And then I heard it was to some sort of training department where he's going to monitor administrative duties or some BS, which basically means, bring your lunchbox and sit at your desk, you moron. And don't do more damage.
It's desk duty because I saw the order, but I didn't quite read it all the way through. Let me ask you another one. Supposedly she hasn't been back to her job since the trial. Dever, Will?
Oh, yeah. She's, I mean, it certainly seems like there is a vibe of a panic going on, because all of these things are happening very close to each other, which just amplifies my hope that there's federal intervention.
Yeah. Lexi has a question. Did you see Jen at the courthouse today? I guess that's you,
no, Jen. Although Dina suggested, because the weather has been so hot and hellish, that Jen must be around somewhere because she brings hell wherever she goes. But I did not see her. There was the first part of that question that we jumped over about the 5,000 pages. We got sidetracked into that. But the first part of the question was about Alan Jackson still representing Karen and what might happen going forward. And people were kind of, their interest was piqued by that. First of all, when he says he will always represent Karen, as an attorney, you have an obligation to former clients, even if you're done, to maintain certain confidences. And so in a sense, whether you do any work for them ever again, you always represent that former client. I'm not sure what he was talking about when he phrased it that way, but we do believe, and this is what people were alluding to, there might be some civil matters down the road that he gets involved with, or there might be subsequent criminal investigations that he becomes involved with. It was all very vague, and I think that's what people are most curious about.